You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? You're listening to Podcast PXN episode 27. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prittle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined by the pride of PlayStation, Sean Babiak. Sean, it only took me about 7 outtakes to get to this point, but here we are.
I have no idea what you think you screwed up.
I screwed up everything. You
said, "What's up, guys?" and that was it.
I know. I'm very
I don't
particular.
understand how, oh my god, it has to be the right inflection.
It does, yes. Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday.
Each and every week. Each and every week.
Each and every
week. At some point in the week.
Each and every week, because today's Friday, of course.
This Wednesday wasn't my fault, for the record, for once. It was not my fault.
That's true. I forgot about Ash Wednesday. Just search Podcast PXN and you'll find us on YouTube. Remember, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The first item on the PXN news of the week is there has been 2 Star Wars games officially confirmed and announced, and one of which is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel from Respawn. The other is a kind of unique game, they're calling it, from EA Motive. EA Motive was like that support studio that they put in place 5 years ago or something like that. They helped on Star Wars Battlefront 2. They've been like a support studio for the most part since they were created. I believe Jade Raymond was the one who went over there to kind of help start up that studio. So that'll be interesting to see kind of what that is, but obviously we're both excited that they're making a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, how successful, we've heard the numbers. I think something around 10 million or something like that copies sold.
Yeah.
So yeah, why wouldn't you make a sequel? But don't expect it. My guess is for 3 years.
Probably, yeah.
Granted, I know it's not going to be like... I mean, it could be quicker, but it's going to be kind of built in a different engine because of it being obviously next gen for it. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Don't change anything, unlike Daniel's going to say.
What?
You hated the combat. I love the combat.
So you don't want them to see them change anything?
No, just improve. Maybe give me some more options and force.
You sound
powers.
like one of those fanboys out there that is a fanboy of a franchise that don't change anything. I love it exactly how it is. That's exactly how the Halo community is. They say, we don't want anything changed. Why? That's the whole, innovation is what's great about games.
Yeah, but you just had such a problem with the combat. That's why I don't want
I know. You're just trying to set me off.
That's why I don't want them changing things. I thought that combat was perfect.
All right. Anyways, the EA also announced that, no, they didn't announce, but this was kind of leaked, that a third Star Wars game was also canceled last year, which was apparently some kind of spin-off from Star Wars Battlefront. So
that's 2 canceled Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Actually,
third.
3, because the Bounty Hunter 1313 was officially canceled.
Yeah.
In the 2010s or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a third Star Wars cancellation game in EA's contract.
Yeah, that's
not a good sign.
Not a good sign at all. And I'm not even sure what they would have done with a spin-off to Battlefront. Like, why not just make your own Star Wars game? Why do you need to make a spin-off of Battlefront for that?
They have this whole, as we saw, was it a couple weeks ago when it was leaked about Respawn basically EA came to Respawn hey, we don't want lightsabers and we don't want the Force in a Star Wars game.
Well, that was Lucasfilm, right?
No, that was EA.
Oh, I thought it was Lucasfilm who originally said that, because Respawn wanted that stuff, Jedis and lightsabers, but then Lucasfilm was initially cold on that, I believe.
I could have sworn it was EA. But regardless, whoever it is in the higher-ups making these decisions always wants to continue to go away from what makes Star Wars Star Wars. Every sci-fi series, game, whatever you want to call book, they all have traveling in space, all have some type of guns that could be blasters or stun guns or anything like that. But yeah, what makes Star Wars unique is this whole magic form of stuff going on. The Jedi is what makes Star Wars Star Wars. But everyone wants to keep going away from what is basically categorizing this whole thing. So luckily Respawn obviously refused, and Battlefront has continuously gone away from that formula. But as we see, wasn't as successful as it could have been.
It was Lucasfilm. They had to gain Lucasfilm's trust to make a game about Jedi and lightsabers because they were initially concerned about that. Like, it's basically like the holy grail of the Star Wars universe.
No.
But anyways, moving on to our next news story, which I'm sure you are very excited to see. Platinum Games. Next game has been announced. Project GG, which is a spiritual successor to Beautiful Joe and the Wonderful 101. The Wonderful 101 was a game that was kind of stuck on the Wii U, but it was actually pretty well acclaimed. A lot of people liked Wonderful 101. I never played it personally, but
I only played a demo that was on the Wii U. It was interesting and unique, but at that point, I was always in the mindset of, let me just play the Wii U Nintendo exclusives, not like their other exclusives like Zombie U and all that such.
Yeah. So, obviously, you're very excited about that, them working on that instead of Bayonetta 3, I'm sure.
Who knows? I mean, I get it. This is a new team, technically, for Platinum Games. But does that... Am I counting? Is this 4 teams, or is this considered that cross Nintendo AAA team?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So if this isn't, that's the 4th team that's been created now in Platinum Games with nothing remarkable being released, in my opinion, since Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
And that was on the Wii U in 2015. No, sorry, maybe 2014. But like that's a long time to go without making a substantial, remarkable game, in my opinion.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like, how is Platinum not in like financial problems right now? Because they haven't, like you said, they haven't really released anything that's been good critically or commercially. So I'm not sure how the hell they're still making new games and building teams and like what. I don't understand that. I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, the rumor is that we were going to hear something alongside of Bayonetta 3 with this announcement, but obviously that didn't come to fruition, and we had a podcast in between this, but the last Friday's Direct from Nintendo was all about Animal Crossing. We didn't hear anything about any other game, which means Animal Crossing comes out literally in 3-ish weeks, and we know nothing else about any other Nintendo exclusive, so something has to be getting set here soon, and it's gonna be going on 3 years, so Bayonetta 3 has to be some sort of news eventually.
True.
I would assume, but it's Platinum Games, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of piggybacking off of that news story, Wonderful 101 has a remaster that is actually coming May 19th to all the platforms that it's been in development for, which is like Switch, PS4, and PC, I believe.
Yeah, everything but Xbox One.
Yeah, so.
Which is weird, but whatever.
Yeah, at this point, it's good to have that game that people actually enjoyed on more platforms than just the Wii U that nobody really enjoyed, so.
Yeah, I just don't get why they're only leaving one specific platform out. I get it, it's a Japanese game, but I mean, just like we talked about Kingdom Hearts before,
yeah.
I mean, you're just alienating a portion of your audience that might only have an Xbox console. At least as far as this generation, PS4 and Xbox One are pretty lateral as far as movement and comparisons, so it's not that hard. And I know I'm not a technical person,
right?
But it does not seem it would be that hard to port that more or less to that console.
I do wonder if this has some kind of, and this could be just me being crazy, but if this has some kind of link to Microsoft and Scalebound's partnership for Platinum and that falling through, if that has a side effect of this, then that's why they don't want to work with them.
I mean, yeah, I hate to go in conspiracy mode, but that kind of wraps up. The only thing that I don't want to believe that, because we've actually said that good on Phil Spencer for doing this. Regardless if we don't know what the final product was when it came to Scalebound, but you and I both believe it's better to cancel a poor project than to release a poor project, because it just doesn't make any sense.
What's up, Bloodar? He's just commented in our chat. Hi, guys, watching all the way from Albania. Nice couch, just subbed. Appreciate the sub, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you watching us. So, Yeah, that's I don't know. That definitely could be a lot more toxic relationship than we realize.
I personally just am not a. I am really questioning, I guess, my dedication to Platinum games. They haven't been. We always compliment them so well, like on all these games. And I, at this moment, can really only think of two that I'm like, all right, the Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, that I can fully get on board with them. Other than that, I don't know. Their pedigree is always these poor licensed games. What Avatar, that Korra game, was universally panned, and people were like super excited for. I know they're not doing the One Punch Man game that comes out, I think, in a few weeks. I haven't watched the video yet for it. But the Transformer games were okay. But I only think they did a handful of them. I didn't do them all.
True.
TMNT that they released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 that you can't even get anymore because that license expired. That was received pretty poorly. And I actually was looking very much forward to that because I thought, like, especially like Rocksteady and Bebop, like that was going to be a really cool thing. And yeah, Bladar agrees that like Korra, not good. So I don't know. I don't know where Platinum really sits in like this upper echelon of game developers.
Cool. And just for the new people that are here, Bladar, we do read out the comments as we do the podcast. So if you want to contribute in any way, feel free to do so. So we'll move on. The next news story we have, Predator Hunting Grounds, the PS4 game that's being made by the Friday the 13th developer, Ilphonic, I believe is their name. They are making a trial weekend coming March 27th for Predator Hunting Grounds. So this is kind of exciting because we just want to see like what this game is. Like, is it going to be a really good Predator game, or is it going to be like Friday the 13th reskinned essentially?
Yeah, because I know when this got announced, you and I were talking about it. Like, they did announce obviously some details as far as like you're a group of mercenaries or whatever in the jungle and that stuff, and then somebody else is the predator, that type of thing. But you and I both had concerns because Friday the 13th is a really cool looking game, but it's really the comedic aspect is what plays most into that game because of the glitches. And that's not something you want to continue to be known for as a developer. I mean, I would think Bethesda right now, as far as their engines go, that's more. It used to be always comical. They always have issues with their engine, Fallout, all this stuff. And now it's like when we saw Fallout 4, we saw kind of a backlash with people like, all right, it's been this long. We've been very nice and forgiving. Like, you got to fix this thing.
And they fixed it with Fallout 76.
Yeah, they definitely fixed. They fixed a lot of things with 76, including fixing to alienate the community away.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think this is actually cool that we get to almost have a hands-on demo. I always think it's really nice that whenever you have a beta or a demo, I actually forgot to talk about this, but I did play the little demo they had for Neo 2.
Gotcha.
That it was just a launch like weekend type thing. But I think that's really nice, even if it's something I'm going to purchase, that I'm able to at least have a trial run. Xbox 360 did this great in the beginning where pretty much every game had some sort of demo or playable aspect to it because in this type of market, the only thing with our entertainment we really get is just visuals and what other people are going to say and all that stuff. And actually, Bloodar, that your last comment, we'll be getting to that here very shortly on our topic of the week.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Moving on, Bungie has announced that they are removing all their cosmetic loot boxes from the Eververse during the next season. So basically, they have these little cryptarch items. I forget what they're called. Bright Ingrams that are essentially loot boxes, so you open them and you don't know what the heck you're getting. They're removing those completely from the game. They're still going to have paid cosmetics that you can buy, but you'll know what you're getting. You'll just pay for certain things, which is fine. It's whatever. That's obviously to support the ongoing game that continues to run. So I have no problem with that. And them removing loot boxes isn't a bad thing.
No, I would agree. I think the more transparency you have as a game company, especially when you're trying to fund your game, like you said, is better. I personally, I've never bought a cosmetics in Apex, but if I did, I know I can look at them right then and there. and say, this is what I want. So I like that they have that option.
Agreed.
Especially like you and I that aren't going to buy cosmetics just for cosmetic sakes, but plenty of people that do, and they would love to know exactly what they're getting for their money, more or less.
For sure. And obviously that might be part of the byproduct of them no longer being owned, or not Destiny being owned by Activision anymore, which helps considerably because Bungie makes all their decisions themselves now.
Yeah, it sounds more of a gamer-centric decision for them to do this, just because they don't have Activision, which is known for loot boxes, down their throat with it.
Yep. Moving on, so this is a huge news story for the industry as a whole. Literally everyone is backing out of GDC.
Microsoft, Square Enix, Sony, Epic Games is. Yeah, everyone's backing out.
It's insane what the coronavirus is doing to the industry as a whole, the technology industry. Even Microsoft, they adjusted like their gross revenue or something projections for this quarter because they were concerned about coronavirus affecting their different services and stuff. So that's super crazy that this virus is just affecting every aspect of our life right now, and hopefully they do something.
And it hasn't even hit the States in reality,
right?
When we only have like 60 reported cases, but obviously companies are way too nervous to even try to risk it. I was talking about it today with Daniel. My company actually even sent out a presser saying, like, if you came back from these countries, they don't want you coming back to work, this type of thing. So it's being taken very serious, as it should. It's just going to be an interesting GDC this year with basically only people from San Francisco probably showing up.
True.
I just think it's going to be an insane thing that's going to happen.
Yeah. We were talking about shortly. Hopefully this doesn't impact the launch of next-gen systems this fall. And at the very least, if it does impact it, at the very least, we'll see console shortages for sure. And that's definitely a scary thing going into a new generation.
And I think you and I even made this comment back when, like, the coronavirus first became this, like, massive thing. And China is, be wary when those pre-orders come up for Series X and PS5. That's your only way that you're probably going to guarantee that you're going to get it. At this point, because and even then, who knows, console shortages can still affect that type of thing. But I mean, we are looking at the States almost thinking that we've seen the stock market the past couple of days, and obviously we're not going to go into that because we're all about gaming, but everything is going to be affected by this whole issue. So it's you gotta have to figure out what you want to do. I mean, I might honestly, we'll kind of get into it a little later, but like if I'm even thinking about an Xbox as far as getting one in the fall, I would more or less lean towards, okay, I need to pre-order that as well as a PS5 just to make sure I'm able to get one in time. Because you want to be part of that conversation. I get it.
Right.
Launch lineups are always scary and stuff like that, but I think you're always protected too, in a sense. Yeah. Especially being an early adopter. But
you're protected knowing that Halo Infinite is a launch title.
Yeah, it won't be a game I probably get.
Shut up, Sean.
I would do that. I would do that just to piss you off.
Game Pass. It's free with Game Pass. Bladar says, what does the general public think? We're not going to go into anything like that. We're just going to talk about the impact that it has on games. We're not going to go into like whether we think it's man-made or whatever, just because that's all political stuff. We just think it's better just to not talk about that kind of stuff.
You sure? I figured it was your boy Randy Pitchford that made it.
Oh, Randy. You know what? If we want to start that conspiracy, I'm all for it. Randy Pitchford started the coronavirus. Yes, there we go. We got it. That's a good idea. I'm adding him on Twitter right now.
Jesus.
Our next news story, Borderlands 3. Of course, Randy
That's why I said it.
And then we lead into this. Borderlands 3's next DLC expansion, Guns, Love, and Tentacles, is coming March 26th, and I think you have some details.
Yeah, so this is the second of the four paid DLCs. It is kind of taken place with the Wainwright and Hammerlock wedding that happened. If anybody remembers, they are together in the game. I won't go into any more than that because that is a part of the ending. So obviously, new epic loot. There's actually gonna be a new planet, and it looks like you're actually gonna be fighting inside a old vault beast. I can't remember what they're called, but like you're kind of inside of one
That's cool.
that's decaying and all this stuff. A couple fan favorite characters returning as NPCs.
That's cool.
Oh, hey, Goal 97. So that's really neat that, yet again, we talked about the fan service that this game did as far as the entire series of Borderlands.
Yeah.
So that's really neat. I actually don't even recognize the character. I can't even remember the name. But new legendaries, new cosmetics. All this is really exciting.
Yeah.
I was really actually just hoping, though, for a new character as well announced.
So no new characters.
No new character yet. But they did kind of give a little insight to upcoming DLC. First off is some free DLC. So new Mayhem mode. They already had Mayhem mode that's in there, which it's kind of like you're just killing everything, which is pretty much the point of Borderlands anyways. Also, another one, Revenge of the Cartels, and then also Guardian Takedown, where you get to face like more challenging bosses and stuff. So that's really cool that they keep supporting us. This game, remember, came out in September of 2019.
Yep.
So they're still going at this thing. And then they announced a little bit of details for the next two DLCs, or the next DLC at least. It's going to be called something in the form of Outlaws and Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So if you remember, I can't remember the exact beast name, but there is kind of a dinosaur-like or T-Rex-like enemy in Borderlands 3.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's going to have a little bit to do with that. It's supposed to be coming out this summer at some point. The main ask is obviously, please give me a character. That's what I want. I want a new character. I still haven't gone back to Moxie's Heist. I really need to do that. I might just knock out these two DLC at the same time. But we'll see how far deep I go into Neo 2 here in a few weeks, because obviously that's going to be my jam.
Cool. Sounds like a lot of awesome stuff coming to Borderlands 3. Fun fact about Borderlands 3, I haven't gone back since the DLC came out, but every single time I see a code for golden keys on Twitter, I enter it on my browser.
You might have a
so I
billion,
probably I probably have about 100 golden keys at this point waiting for me whenever I go back.
See, I just stopped doing it because I got like you always reach this cap in Borderlands games where you're like, all right, this gun just wrecks. And obviously I was already at the level cap too, and it's just, I get it, there's more creative guns and all this interesting stuff, but like at a certain point, you are happy with your set, does great. So it's like, okay, now I'm just adding more and more to my backpack that I don't need.
Yeah, once you get the guns you love, you're set.
Yeah.
Moving on, speaking of next gen, Square Enix has announced that they are releasing cross-gen for the next several years. So basically what that means, they're going to continue releasing for I almost said Xbox 360.
That's
Xbox
like two
One,
generations back.
Xbox One. They're going to continue releasing Xbox One and PS4 games alongside Series X / Series S, whatever that's going to be, and PlayStation 5. So they're going to continue doing cross-gen games, at least for the next year or two, just like what Microsoft announced, a month ago? And there was rumors about Sony doing the same thing as well. It just makes sense. You have this huge install base this gen already. Why would you throw all that away for, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X? So thank you, Alexa. Motion detected outside. I appreciate you interrupting the podcast.
Oh, we're getting robbed.
Yeah,
Yay.
we're getting robbed. Yeah.
So the one thing that actually kind of makes me happy about this is we don't know any post-launch details on Square Enix's Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Yes.
We only know about Part 1 that comes out in about a month or so. As far as taking place on Midgar. We don't know if you get off of Midgar or any type of stuff like that. But the biggest question around this particular game has been, how does that support look coming into the next generation? And we know it's not just a console exclusive. It's a timed exclusive to PlayStation 5. Granted, it got pushed now to, I think, April of 2021 for Xbox.
Yes.
More or less.
Yeah.
But what does that look like as far as your Part 2? How does that save carry over, that type of thing? Because you would assume that something cloud-based is going to happen, but no details have been told to us. Yep. So that at least gives me a little bit of faith that, hey, I'm going to get a Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then whatever this Part 2 is, I'll still be able to play it on my PlayStation 4, maybe, or minimally, yes, to figure out all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Bladar says in the chat, will you guys do Resident Evil 3 when it is out finally, the remake? Yes. Actually, that is our next news story, which is Resident Evil 3 demo has been announced, so we're very excited about it, or at least I'm very excited about it. Resident Evil 3 demo, I am all for. The Resident Evil 2 demo was awesome.
I love that people started doing speed runs of the demo.
Yeah.
It was such stressful watching those things.
Because basically, the demo, they let you get, like, to a certain point, but, like, I didn't even hit that point in the demo. I was just exploring so much.
Yeah, it was a 30-minute time demo.
Yep, but they cut you off at a certain point, like, so speedrunners ended up hitting a wall, essentially. But this is awesome. I'm very excited to see more on Resident Evil 3. There was some leaked screenshots this past week that showed Nemesis, which looks badass as heck. So very excited to actually get my hands on it. Resident Evil 2 was one of my favorite games last year for the Resident Evil 2 remake.
And you're not coming off of anything from Resident Evil 3.
Correct.
So, I mean, I don't know what to expect from your standpoint as far as not having that nostalgia or feelings towards it at all. I mean, I'm just excited to be freaked out again as I was when I was a kid, because that game was just the most stressful game I ever played because of him, and I think it's going to continue to be stressful.
Yep.
Mr. X pales in comparison when it comes to Nemesis.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with a rocket launcher this time around.
Yeah. I did read something that they're implementing some kind of system, like, for Nemesis, like, to actually you have to do some kind of sequence or something in order to evade him. I don't know. I hope that doesn't mean like a quick time event or something. But
I know you could cheese him in the PS1 version.
Gotcha.
It was actually sometimes quicker to cheese him. Like, you just popped off 6 shots, generally to the head as best you can with obviously tank controls. But there was a way to at least cheese him, and sometimes it was actually a better option than running because he basically catch up to you more or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for that to finally come out.
Yeah.
And then Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yes. I mean, just make a new Resident Evil game at this point. But
well,
yes,
it's already been confirmed that they're making one.
Yes.
And the only rumor that we have is that it's done in the light of Resident Evil 7, which I kind of wish they would go actually more towards these remakes versions.
I agree. Moving on, Shovel Knight has a spin-off that has been announced by Yacht Club Games, and it's called Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, which I don't think they didn't talk about platforms or anything, but just the fact that
the name.
Yeah, it says Pocket Dungeon. It sounds like it's going to be a mobile game, kind of like Minecraft Pocket Edition.
Yep. So, I mean, I think it's really cool that Yacht Club Games continues to go after it when it comes to Shovel Knight. The last DLC that they released, Inside a Treasure Trove for Shovel Knight, is the last one for that base game. They are done with Shovel Knight, the base game. So, I mean, I don't know any other details as far as that this has been announced. I don't know if this is like a separate team that made it, because it looks like a smaller game. It looks almost like a pseudo Zelda dungeon crawler, maybe mixed with like a little bit of Tetris. From what I could tell, there's no video images. It was all just like just there, so it kind of looked like that. But Yacht Club Games has gotten nothing but praise from not just the community but also the press. So I can only give it faith when it comes to whatever this game is.
Yeah.
Honestly, as long as it's not on Apple, what's their game?
Arcade.
Apple Arcade. I'm good to check it out. I just don't want to invest in Apple Arcade every month. I'd rather just pay a premium price right then and there and then have the game, similar to like Mario Run.
True. Although I 100% recommend doing the free trial for Apple Arcade to play What the Golf, because that game is so silly, it's awesome. Like, I love that.
I have been thinking about checking it out, but I mean, I still keep playing Mario Kart, and that's all I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which won racing game, by the way, of the year at the DICE Awards, which was totally, bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, Crash Team Racing should have been the racing game of the year.
Yeah.
Regardless how you feel about it being differing from Mario Kart itself.
Yeah.
Like that should have been the racing game of the year.
Yeah.
How on earth Mario Kart Tour won as racing game of the year?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. In a year that didn't have Forza, Gran Turismo, or
That would be even scarier if those games were out in that one.
Yeah.
Like, look, Mario Kart runs fine to like as a distraction
Mario
and stuff.
Kart Tour.
No, Mario Kart Tour. Sorry.
Mario Kart Run.
yeah.
Could you imagine that? You play as the cart and you're jumping around. That would be pretty funny.
Like it's a fun distraction, but it's not like that innovative of a game. There's a lot of issues with it.
True. Moving on to our last news story, there's a new document that showed off a patent, I guess, for the DualShock 5. That's what I'm calling it. They haven't officially called it the DualShock 5.
It's a safe bet.
Yeah.
It's a very safe bet.
So the controller for PlayStation 5, they have this new biofeedback thing that they have patented. So essentially, it's going to take like your sensory stuff from your hands, so like possibly like pulse and like sweat. I think there was something like sweat glands.
Because they were talking about like a fear meter type thing.
Which is interesting. Like,
Yeah.
the idea sounds super interesting because, like, if you have, like, a horror game or something and you put certain pieces in that you're expecting the player to react certain ways, and you can analyze that data, like, get that data from the player, like, for future games or whatever, or to use in the game that they're currently playing, like, that's such an interesting idea. I just don't know how well it's necessarily going to be implemented. That's the only thing that I'm kind of like, is that going to work out if that actually happens? The other problem is multi-platform games. Are they going to take advantage of that? Because as we both know, there's tons of multi-platform games that didn't take advantage of 6-axis, didn't take advantage of the impulse triggers on Xbox One.
Or currently the HD Rumble feature
Yes.
on the Switch controllers, on the Joy-Cons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you can create the coolest things in the world for your controllers, but at the end of the day, you have to have the developers actually want to create for it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, I think, the thing that we'll have to watch out for.
And not to mention, the PS4 DualShock, that has that back button attachment that came out in January.
Yes.
And that is been reported to work with whatever this new controller is. But we don't know if it's going to have it built in or just an attachment. But there's another thing to add onto your controller. Like, are you doing too many things at once now to your controller where you're not only just you're holding it, but you're also like making sure that they can sense you, stuff like that. Like, it'd be cool for psychological thrillers. Like, I'm thinking about like classic GameCube game Eternal Darkness. If that had like some sort of thing to respond to your fear or your confusion or whatever, that's a really cool and interesting way to develop a game. But I really believe, like you, like it's just going to be a one or twice time gimmick, and that's really it.
True. So, moving on to the games we are playing. Well, before we move on, let's just go over this. Bladar says, I know it's pretty much off topic, but will you guys ever push towards a reacting channel, even if there are millions of them probably? Would love to see which TV series you haven't watched yet. So I guess he's asking if we would ever do like a reactions like to certain television shows or whatever. Probably not.
I'd be down to do a reaction video on the classic movie called Bride Wars.
What?
Stars Anne Hathaway and Kate Hudson. Just it's a classic tale of cinema.
I've never heard of it.
I'm just lying.
Oh, okay.
We actually have talked about doing games that him and I are not huge people into.
Yeah.
So Daniel is really against Dark Souls games or Souls-like, and that's like one of my favorite genres. And then I am also not an FPS person.
Yeah.
And I've never played a Mass Effect game, never played a Skyrim, any of that stuff. I tried Fallout for like an hour, hated it. So we joked about doing maybe something like that once our schedules get like a little better and that stuff.
Oh, you're all good.
No, you're fine. Yeah, but we've joked about seeing what we could do to have one another suffer through something that we know we're both uncomfortable with, even if it's just as a gag, more or less.
just as a joke, yeah.
Because I'd probably cry watching you play Souls.
I would probably break multiple things. I'm not going to lie. I would probably not want to do this at my house because I'd probably just destroy my entire house.
Why? That worked out so well when you played Fallen Order.
Oh, God. Played that freaking second-to-last boss 76 million times. And then you come out, touch the controller, you're like, man, I can't even do this. So then I take it back and beat it the first try. I was like, are you kidding me?
Touch it. It's fine.
That was ridiculous.
In my defense, I only died like 5 times to him.
True. Moving on now to games we are playing. Currently, I am going back to Fortnite again. What
is up with you with this kick recently, man?
I'm being sucked back into Fortnite. So a lot of my friends have been playing it lately, so I've been going on there playing with them because they had a squad going and one day, and I joined them, and I was like, all right, I'm back in, I guess. I've literally been sucked back in, almost like you started to get sucked back into Apex not that long ago.
Yeah, for a couple days, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad I got out of it real quick.
So... I really like what they're doing in the current season of Fortnite, though, with the spy theme. It's kind of interesting because they have, like, hot points on the map that you can go to now that you have to disguise yourself for the AI that are in those areas to not shoot at you. But then once you disguise yourself, they don't shoot you. You can sneak in and, like, open vault keys. And similar to Apex, they added that vault or whatever, the vault room. Mm-hmm. They added that for Fortnite as well, where you get the key from the boss, and then you go open these vaults in these areas. And it kind of makes an interesting dynamic having the AI on the map as well as the human players, because you're trying to keep yourself alive from the AI players by disguising yourself, but then if you get shot by human characters, your disguise goes away, and then you're getting shot by 3 different directions, and you're like, oh my god, this is overwhelming. But it's a lot of fun, so I'm very excited to kind of
there would be a good game for me not to panic on is Fortnite, because I've never played it, never had any inkling to play it.
Yeah,
and stuff, and I know though there was a report that I saw that Epic Games actually reported a loss this past quarter from Fortnite.
And I saw that they were disputing it because I don't know. I'm not sure what the whole story was, but they're saying that wasn't accurate or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's never been something that I actually kind of agree with Bloodar. Look like cool, but I like it. It's pretty much opposite of the mainstream as far as how he likes to view it. But I never wanted to never not wanted to because of it being mainstream. It looked, I'm not an online player, looked a little confusing for me, but
yeah,
who knows? Who knows?
And the other thing I have on here, so the last week I was talking about Oculus Quest, about how much fun that was, and I was completely taken aback from it. So I literally put my email address on this list that sends notifications when stock goes into stock, because the Quest has been nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
It's been nowhere to be found. So today, I got a notification it was available, so I was like, all right, I'm just going to get it.
Oh, so you got it. Nice.
I ordered it from Walmart because it came into stock. There was 2 in stock when I looked at it, and I was like, all right. And then I have
a request.
Quick. What's that?
You have to get Vader Immortal. I really want to try that out.
I will do that.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
And then I know you're probably going to get that like football thing that we talked about last week.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to check that out.
Yeah.
So that's it from me.
Cool. Not much nothing has changed. So, played Darksiders Genesis. I actually beat it. I really liked the story. It wasn't as grabbing as I would hope it'd be, but it is a Darksiders story. They're not like massively known for that. But the gameplay stuck throughout. It didn't feel repetitive to me as far as the combat and the upgrades and stuff like that. There's still a lot that I have to do to 100% it.
How long was it?
If you're not looking to replay levels in 100%, maybe 15, 17 hours.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Now, my playtime says that I spent like 120 plus hours on it. I don't know. I think it's because of the Switch, because I never actually closed the game. I just, put it to sleep.
Yeah.
So that was my guess, or I might have just like left it on, not realizing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I definitely did not spend that much time, because it was at that like after like 3 or 4 days. I'm like, okay, I've done other things.
Yeah.
But highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. I know you bought it, but you haven't checked it out fully yet.
No.
So I really wish just the co-op was a little better thought out as far as that vertical split screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something I think is conducive in today's time.
Yeah.
I wish kind of too it was crossplay so you and I could play together as far as because I have the Switch and you have it on the Xbox. I don't believe it is though.
No.
But I know online you don't obviously see that split screen or anything like that. But yeah, it was really cool. Actually, it was nice to see that Samael had a lot more to do in this story. He's kind of been he has been a character in all the games except for I believe the third game. No, he was actually in the third game. So it was neat to see him more take part of the action and stuff and actually see him.
Yeah.
Because you actually fight alongside of him in a part too. I thought that was actually pretty cool. You've never actually seen him do anything besides sit there on a throne and just make comments to you because you really never know what Samael's whole thing is with it. But it was a pretty good game. I actually really liked it. So now it's just the wait for Neo 2, then Doom, maybe Animal Crossing. They still haven't sold me on Animal Crossing.
So on your scale of Darksiders 2 to Darksiders 3, where is it at?
But Darksiders 3 I really enjoyed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still say the first one's my favorite.
First one's still your favorite?
Obviously, being Zelda-oriented, I'm going to stick with that. I would say probably... It's going to sound bad, but it's really not because they're all very good games in my opinion. But I really think it goes 1, 2, 3 Genesis for me.
Really? So in order.
Exactly, in order that they've released. But that first one did such a good thing in my gaming history as far as basically being an adult Zelda.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to gravitate more towards that one.
Mine's the same, except I would reverse 2 and 1. Although I've never played 3 or
I was gonna say
Genesis. I've barely touched, so it's
I think
hard.
3 would, knowing you, 3 would be your last because of it being more Souls-like.
Probably, yes, you're probably correct.
But again, it is one of the only game series that I can think of that has ever switched genres for each game.
Yeah,
This is 4 games. Obviously, this last one wasn't a mainline,
right?
But they've had a different genre every game. I mean, technically, I guess they're all action adventure, but their gameplay is so different. And now I'm just wondering when they inevitably do a culmination. We've played all 4 characters of the Horsemen now. What does that 5th game look like? How do you incorporate all 5 or all 4 characters?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what you have to do. You have to have almost a 4-player co-op game where everyone could be a horseman and see how all that stuff goes.
And that was the original. That was what they were originally going to do for Darksiders 2, right? And then they had to change
after
it.
Darksiders, during Darksiders 2, that's when it was faux announced that it was going to be a 5-game series, which each game taking place in a horseman's time, like as far as what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Then that 5th game is a culmination of them essentially going after the council and trying to, I guess, set everything right.
Which I wonder if they're going to continue with that same plan, because Vigil Games, obviously, they got shut down when THQ went bankrupt, but a lot of the original people ended up going to THQ Nordic to help them make this, so I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It sounds like to just finish this off, I think they'll do one last one. Yeah. So, yeah, I just, I think that they'll just continue doing that.
Bledar says, how come there's not one good Walking Dead game? Massive fan of the series. Love to see Norman on Death Stranding. I wouldn't say there's not a good Walking Dead game. Telltale.
Maybe just not the Walking Dead game you want.
Yeah. There's not a good open world Walking Dead RPG experience where you're surviving essentially.
There is a VR game that's zombie-like that's coming out.
Did that come out already?
I don't know if it might have came out. I know it's only on Oculus or Vive. It's not on PS VR, but I would highly recommend. I actually really enjoyed the first Walking Dead season. I did not like the other ones, but that's because I'm not an adventure game person. I thought it was just cool when I was into Walking Dead to play this type of, especially Glenn being that bonus character.
The first season was amazing.
Yeah, but then the Walking Dead game that came out on PC.
And it was supposed to come to consoles later, but then they canceled it because it did so bad.
It just was bad.
Yeah. Almost as bad as that Norman Reedus crap. What was that game called? Where it was him and his brother were in it. It was a console Walking Dead game.
I think I'll look it up while we kind of go in.
Merle and Daryl. It was starring Merle and Daryl, and it was just straight awful. It was supposed to be something like a more open world survival scavenger type of game, but it was real bad. I want to say it was like Survival Instinct. Was that it? Walking Dead Survival Instinct. I think that's what it was, and it was such a bad game. I would not recommend playing that. So yeah, if you want a good Walking Dead game, definitely play the Telltale games because their stories are really good and definitely worth it.
Yes, it is.
So
that's
it
what
is Survival Instinct. Yep. Cool.
The downfall is the first thing I did. It pulled up Code Vein because that's what their Code Vein DLC was announced to being.
Yep.
Is Survival Instinct, which I still want to check that out eventually.
Yeah. So. Moving on to the topic of the show, we have Xbox Series X details being confirmed by Microsoft. So they kind of just posted a whole bunch of stuff about Series X in a blog post on Xbox Wire from Phil Spencer. So essentially they're confirming this is a 12 teraflop machine, which is what the rumors were. It has variable rate shading, which we aren't going to go into technical stuff. We aren't technical experts. Hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing. Essentially, ray tracing is just better lighting, so it makes the lighting in the games look better. But two of the important things that came out of this, so quick resume for multiple games is a super awesome feature. Quick resume is essentially where you shut down your game, you turn off your console, turn it back on, and you have your game exactly where you left it. So you don't have to worry about save states or anything like that. It'll just
during this console generation, it was like one of the biggest hyped updates that both platforms had.
Yes.
And I think it was like a year or two into the console's life cycle that it came out, and everyone's like, what do we do before we have this whole thing?
Exactly.
And now with multiple games, obviously even better. Especially with going probably a lot more digital this time around.
Yep. And another tidbit about that is now as for Series X, you can shut your console down completely, like do a hard reset, and it will still do the quick resume when you turn the console back on. I don't know if it's like that on PS4, but on Xbox One, if you like hard power it off, like hold down your console and power it off, like unplug power it and plug it back in, it starts over. It starts fresh, so you can't resume from that.
I couldn't
process.
tell you because I don't know the last time I hard powered my console down.
Really?
Yeah, I always just put it in rest mode. I'm always just so used to that.
My problem is I'm in the preview program, so there's always some kind of bug that I have to do a hard reset to fix it. So, so that all looks very interesting. The other big news piece from this is they are announcing a new smart delivery feature. So apparently what this does is if you own a game on Xbox One, for instance, Cyberpunk 2077, this is one of the titles that's been confirmed for this feature. If you own Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One, when you buy your Series X this fall, well, not this fall, but when you buy your Series X and Cyberpunk comes to Series X, you'll get that game for free. So essentially, they're giving you the better version of the game for no charge. That's a consumer friendly feature that definitely needs to be incorporated on all fronts.
Yeah, PC's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes no sense for them to release remasters on the next gen and be like, hey, give us $60 more for the same exact game, just looking better, essentially. So this is an awesome feature. I hope that everyone does this because honestly, it's a no-brainer.
I think coming into this next generation, the only thing we're going to see as far as remasters or remakes are going to be games that are a lot older than 2 generations. Things that people are going to want to revisit, try to touch up, see, hey, this didn't stick in the early 2000s or even late 90s. Let's see if it does now these days. I think with that type of feature being offered, you're going to see a lot, like, the first 3 years of this generation, it was at least 2 a month major remakes came out. Or major remasters. So I mean, it only added to like being a joke of this console generation, basically just being an extended life cycle of the PS3, PS4. And granted, I fell victim to that. I bought the BioShock collection. I bought the Handsome Jack collection.
I did as well.
Yeah, so like I get it. I fell into that. I was part of that problem. But I also you couldn't play those games at that time on your actual console, and I think you're kind of like me. When the new console comes out, you'll give it a couple of months where you're keeping the old guys, but after that, you're like, why do I still have this plugged in? I've not turned it on. I'm only playing my new thing. So
And even some companies, when Microsoft announced backwards compatibility for Xbox One for 360 games, some companies like 2K were doing things very shadily, like releasing the Handsome Collection on Xbox One and PS4, but then not allowing people to play backwards compatible Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1, which is kind of, in my opinion, that's pretty crappy because they were giving them the ability to do that. Now you can do that, but it took them a while after that game came out before they actually supported it, which that's kind of crappy, but whatever. So apparently we won't have to worry about that as much, but it is up to the developer, so it's not a mandate. So we could still see remasters happen.
I just don't think it's going to be as prevalent as it was this time around.
I agree.
Especially with services such as Game Pass or PS Now. We've talked at those ad nauseum at this point. But those programs are going to only continue to enhance that experience of being able to play previous generational games.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire lineup of Gears of War is on Game Pass, I believe.
Yes.
So that's not just because we're switching over to a new console does not mean those games are going out of Game Pass.
Correct.
So you still get to play something from 2 generations prior.
Yep.
So why would you need to remaster it?
And even 3 generations prior on the OG Xbox.
Yeah. Voodoo Vince.
No, God, please no.
Every
Phil.
time it's like so that Candyman trailer came out, and so every time you say Voodoo Vince into the camera, that's what happens. So like Phil Spencer comes out behind you.
Yeah, Phil loves that game too much. The other thing is HDMI 2.1. I think this is pretty much a given on both consoles. This is gonna have to be in both consoles because. Essentially what HDMI 2.1 is going to give you the ability for is 120 frames per second on your console. So obviously you have to have a TV or monitor that supports 120 frames per second, which there's not a lot out there that do. But this is exciting for some games, like smaller games that use that extra horsepower to make the game even more crisp. For instance, Forza last generation was often 1080p 60 frames per second on Xbox One. Even though the Xbox One struggled as a console, they still hit that benchmark, which makes me think that they'll do the same thing for Series X and have 4K 120 frames per second possibly for Series X. So that'll be interesting to keep our eye on there. It also allows for auto low latency mode, which just basically means it turns on your game mode for you without you having to do it. That's not anything revolutionary. And they did confirm that all your Game Pass games will still work on Series X. So your entire catalog from day one will be there with you. So
technically, this for both consoles will be the largest launch lineup of any console generation ever.
Technically, yes, with backwards compatibility. Yep. Yeah. Because Xbox 360 had backwards compatibility, and so did PS3, the original, right?
It did, yep.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I ever kept my original fat PS3, because you could play PS2 games on it.
Right. So kind of piggybacking on that a little bit, I saw this week that Microsoft is selling the Xbox One X for $299, and this piqued something in my mind, and I know they talked about it on Unlocked this week, and they have a different idea than I do, as well as you, but Xbox One X is being sold at $299 now. So the Xbox One X had been selling at $499, so $500 for the longest time. And there was a ton of sales and stuff last holiday that were at $349, $329 I think was the lowest I saw Black Friday. But now they're selling it for $299. In my opinion, this is what my thought is. I think they are paving the way for Series X to come in at $499. And the reason being is Xbox One X is the highest tier possible of Xbox One, and that's $299. My thinking is if they get people buying that, because Xbox One X isn't going to go anywhere in the next year. I mean, it's going to be on shelves for the next year at least.
Maybe on shelves.
Well,
it'll at least be around.
Depending on what the coronavirus does. But that'll still be there. And if it's $2.99, this isn't official price drop yet. It's just what they're selling it for right now on a promotion or whatever. But if they sell that at $2.99 and Series S, which is the low end next gen,
the rumor, whatever Lockhart is called.
If that comes to fruition, if that comes out, that in my opinion that could be $3.99, possibly $3.49, but I doubt it because SSDs are way too expensive for it to go that low. I think that'll be $3.99. And then Series X is your more powerful console at $4.99. And the other reason why I say that is because Phil Spencer, and this is something Ryan forgets about, he talks about it on Locked, Phil Spencer has consistently said that they're not going to release a console at a non-console price. And Microsoft has never released a console over $500. They've never done it. Regardless of what we think about what they're doing with PC and Play Anywhere and all the stuff they're doing, I don't think that they're going to release a $600 console because it's just not what they've ever done. That's not their DNA.
Now, there has been multiple consoles, though, released over $500. Now, there is true statement of there's never been a successful console launch that was over $500.
Well, there's never been an Xbox is what I meant. Yes.
But I'm just saying there is precedence for console pricing to be above $500. Obviously, PS3, everyone knows.
Right.
There was a bunch of systems in the early 90s that were too, but again, those weren't successes.
Right.
And now there was PS3 at the beginning too.
Right.
But that technically console price could be, there's never been one over, I believe, 1,000.
There's been one up to 1,000? Holy crap.
I can't remember. It was during Nintendo and Sega, but it was released for like $800.
Jesus.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it for the life
With
of me.
inflation, I'm sure it's well over 1,000.
Yeah. Well, you can tell why it wasn't successful.
Yeah, that's insane.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just saying that there is a console price that has been for it.
There's definitely a precedent for a $600 console happening for sure. I just don't think Microsoft is going to do that because Phil Spencer, at the end of the day, it's Phil Spencer's call for how much the console is going to cost. Obviously, manufacturing costs come into that and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's Phil Spencer's call to say, hey, this box is going to cost this much. And the fact that he has been so consistent in saying, like, our console is not going to be above a console price. And they've never released a console over $500. Even the Xbox One X, which is they branded as the world's most popular or powerful console in 2017, was $500. I just don't see them putting out a $600 console. And I don't see a $600 console and then a $400 console because that seems like too big of a gap. I think that will possibly backfire on them.
I agree that it might backfire on that. So I'm kind of using your verbiage almost to defend what I'm thinking too on this. So I apologize if I'm like misquoting you, but like you have said to me before in the podcast, listeners, that when it comes to Xbox or Microsoft in general, they're more focused on you being in their platform than that you actually buying the physical box.
Correct.
So that is why that kind of adds to my fire as far as thinking that you're going to get a $600 premium box for the very best console.
Right.
It is going to be more powerful than the PS4. I mean, Phil
PS5.
Spencer, PS5. Yeah, definitely more powerful than the PS4.
I would hope so.
But Phil Spencer's been on record saying that he never doesn't want to have the most powerful console anymore. So whatever they do, they are always going to try to have the most powerful.
Right.
And at that point, I think that you are sacrificing your power as far as for the premium model. Miranda Sanchez uses, actually I thought it was a very astute comparison when it comes to when you get an iPhone. Right now, you generally have two models of iPhone that get released. Mm-hmm. You have the $900 one and the $1,000 one. So, and sometimes this past one, I think it was like almost a $200 price gap. I don't think that it is a smart move, like you're saying. That's why you see them going away from that. Mm-hmm. I just seeing that being the move that they're kind of telling us at the moment.
Yes.
As far as what's going to happen. Now, again, we know nothing about Lockhart.
Yeah.
Other than it's the worst kept secret in the industry.
Yes.
It's never been talked about, never been mentioned. We don't even know if it's launching day and date. It could be we're only getting the Series X. That's the launch console. a few months down the road, that's when you're getting whatever the lock card is. So we have no idea about this. So everything we say is all conjecture.
Yep.
But just kind of what I am feeling is that if they do only launch with a Xbox X or Series X, sorry, and then there's only a PS5, I think that you would see more comparable pricing as far as that 500, 450 range, that type of deal. But if they launch with both consoles, that's when I truly believe you will see something around a $400 lesser system. Not saying you still can't play your next-gen games and aren't going to look beautiful, because they are.
Yeah.
But then you're going to see the higher tier model, the iPhone Pro of this whole thing, and that's going to be what comes in at a more budgeted price. Again, neither one of us have anything to back up anything. It's just kind of how we're feeling with this industry going.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly okay for us to have differing opinions, because I'm sure everybody does at this point. Bloodar, just so you know, we do self-research all of ours. He was asking about as far as how we get all of our data and stuff like that. We do actually do our research throughout the week. And then him and I will obviously just talk to each other and figure that stuff out.
Yeah, you should see my DMs to myself on Twitter. They're really fire stuff.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm landing with this whole Xbox pricing debate.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, when all this stuff comes down to it, it is really going to come to the pricing of Sony. And I know it's already been talked about. Sony's waiting for Microsoft to announce their pricing.
Yeah.
But I really think it's going to come down, as far as Xbox move, what they're going to do when Sony announces. Because if Sony does say $500, I think in their mind then, okay, that's perfect. Then yes, we can do a 400 and a 600 because we can get that. But if Sony announces something that's going to essentially, say you're right, Xbox Series X is $500. Say Sony says, okay, this is going to be $450. Then that's going to determine, I think, more their Lockhart price than anything. Because I don't think you go to a $100 difference between those two.
Right.
Because I'm not saying that I know anything, but my guess is it's going to be a substantial upgrade from whatever Lockhart is to Series X, as far as in terms of power.
Yes, because the rumor is that Lockhart is like a 4 teraflop console, which is technically less than the Xbox One X.
Yep.
But it has the faster CPU and it has the SSD.
Xbox X is 6, correct?
Xbox One X is 6.
6.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I think that a lot of dictation with this could actually come from whatever Sony is. And who knows, maybe Sony has 2 models. We have no idea.
Possibly.
I mean, this is a odd generation for us to all go in at this point. We had kind of a half generation step with the PS4 Pro, Xbox One X. That's not really ever been done before inside consoles. So we are really looking at almost a new frontier of what everything's going to be.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I think that Sony could hit 450 because the cost of their console is like close to 450. So if they sell it at 450, they're making no money, but they still have their software sales to make it back. I totally understand your point of view on that, and you're using my points to back that up by saying like Microsoft doesn't care about their console boxes per se.
And maybe I shouldn't say don't care.
No, yeah, but
because they do obviously.
They don't need people to play that way. They want you to play whatever way you want to play, and I agree with that. They don't necessarily need you to get an Xbox Series X, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be a more expensive console just because of that. It definitely could be, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens, because if Series X and PlayStation 5 are both $500, I think that's going to be interesting to see how Microsoft markets their console against PlayStation 5 being the more powerful console, rumoredly, because we don't even know PlayStation 5 specs yet.
No, but I would say it's pretty safe to assume that whatever that 9.2 teraflops, at least that part of it, is going to be pretty much on the money. That's an odd number to
make up.
Yeah, to kind of say. And again, I think Xbox, this is their attack moment. They've been on defense for the last 7 years. This is the part where they actually go on the offense, try to nab you essentially. they've lost this part of the battle, so to speak, in a console war, even though you and I both don't believe in that.
Yeah.
So now it's their time to essentially go guns blazing and show everybody what they want to offer. And they have the entire E3 stage to do this on, too, this year.
And let's be real, it's about the games. So show us the games, see what we got. Because PlayStation 5, we only have Godfall that's officially announced. And Microsoft, we just have Halo Infinite. That's the only official one.
Officially announced, yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what games we actually get.
Yep.
So, thank you guys for watching live in the YouTube chat. Appreciate you guys coming out. Some new faces there. Appreciate you guys checking it out. We are live each week. Usually it's on Wednesdays, but maybe, I don't know. It'll be kind of in flux. We're still
this Wednesday should be fine, actually.
Yeah, okay. Well, Wednesday probably we will be back. So appreciate you guys watching live. And remember, you can always follow us on YouTube at Podcast PXN. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast PXN as well. And that is it. And I appreciate you guys. And much love. And keep on gaming.
Deuces.